What up? Welcome back to the weekend show, except it's on Monday. My name is Ethan, except I'm officially a Factorio YouTuber now. Little recap from last episode, we got ourselves stuck on the Factorio version of basically Tartarus. Since last episode, I have done a grand total of 0 research and 0 preparation, but I believe that with enough blind dedication and an extra 10 hours of my time, I can escape VULCANUS with minimal losses. We might see danger, we might see death, but maybe, just maybe, we might also see victory. Now listen, last time I taught you about the basics of this game, but newsflash, I'm done babying. Time to be a grown-up and start doing things. Last episode, we left off with some very large problems. We are currently stranded on a volcanic planet with no items and only a vague hope that I'm not soft-locked. Geeked, my space platform and only loyal confidant, is stranded in orbit with no defenses and is slowly taking damage. My uranium mine has been shut down, so at some point, I will be barred from creating any new space platforms, making Geeked my only way home. This is a dire situation. We have no time for lessons. Now, let me give you a lesson on what I've learned about space platforms so far. Space platforms are the only way to get from planet to planet in this game. You send up a starter pack and it slops down a space platform hub. Think of this as a receiver for things shot up from a planet and a place to shoot stuff down to a planet. This is the heart of the platform. If this breaks, the platform is considered dead and can never be accessed again. In space, there are 3 asteroid types: metallic, carbonic, and oxide chunks. Grabbers grab these items and crushers crush them into their respective materials. Metallic chunks give iron ore, carbonic chunks give carbon, and oxide chunks give ice. These 3 items are enough to make all the materials you need to operate, research, and defend your space platform. Iron for ammo, water from ice to create blue and orange rocket fuel, and all 3 to create space science. So now we're back on VULCANUS, and my first objective is to save my only space platform and only way of getting home. Yes. According to what I know, getting to Geek personally wasn't an option. I'm pretty sure I'd need to get an entire rocket just to shoot up to him, and right now I don't have any means to do that. So our next best option is to create a second space platform, send it over to VULCANUS to supply Geeked with the necessary supplies that he needs to get home. Ladies and gentle-tubers, I present to you my second space platform. I started by growing it to a decently large size, enough to hold what I knew it needed to survive the grueling trip to VULCANUS. I had been reckless before sending Geeked up so soon. I wasn't going to do it again. I was supplying Tweaked with the necessary supplies when I was notified that while Geeked was still crafting ammo, it no longer had any extra turrets. So if one broke, it was gone forever. Geeked was running out of supplies and I needed to move faster. In order to enable Geeked to endure for as long as possible, I removed all of the buildings on the platform. I needed to cut my losses, and I knew that if these buildings stayed there, they were only bound to be destroyed. So I packed them into the storage space and let the remaining surface area of Geeked act as sort of a crumple zone for the heart of the platform. This unfortunately didn't help much, and the crumple zone crumpled much faster than I thought it would. While still attempting to build Tweaked up enough for transit, I realized that I could still craft some ammo with what iron I had left on Geeked. So with one turret at the defenses, Geeked made its stand. Every time I checked, Geek's health was lower and lower, and as I was sending some of the last items Tweaked needed for transit, Geeked made its final stand. In the arms of the angel, far away from here, in the The final rock had been thrown. The battle of time lost. I decided I need to turn on my mic and give my final thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give a rousing speech. Geeked was like a brother to me. I do not know what kind of man I would have been without Geeked. I truly hope that Tweaked will live up to Geek's name and deliver us the same amount of joy, whimsy into our lives. He will not be forgotten. Mark my words. They will know the name Geeked. It will be in the history books. His name will never be forgotten. He was like a brother to me. And the asteroids destroyed him in cold blood. He did nothing wrong. And that is unforgivable. This world will not be the same without Geeked. And as I look up into the sky, I hope to be able to remember when Geeked would look back at me and say, I'm here. I'm with you, brother.
This world will genuinely never be the same without you.
That is all. Geek's destruction had given me a new sense of urgency. I needed off this planet as soon as I could get it. Then came the kicker. I needed plastic. Now on Novice, plastic is easy to get. You just mix petroleum gas with coal, then you get plastic. It's very easy. The problem is, there's no crude oil on this planet. I am going to save you from the hours I spent looking at this and just explain it in the simplest terms that I can. Starting now. We start with steam. In order to make steam, we need to push together sulfuric acid from a rig and calcite from miners I never told you about. We then take that steam and condense it into water. Then somewhere else we make heavy oil by combining coal from my miners, calcite from my miners, and sulfuric acid from a rig. We then take that heavy oil and mix it with the water we set aside to make light oil. We then take that light oil and mix it with even more water to make petroleum gas, which we finally mixed with coal to make what was once thought to be impossible, plastic. Also, we did all of that to make red and blue circuits, which are needed to make
Raqueta.
From there, I pretty much had all of the automation I needed to finish making the rocket. I just had to wait a few millennia. While I waited, I worked on getting tweaked interplanetary capable. I finished the fuel crafting, which I cannot be asked to explain, and surrounded it with laser turrets, which run on power. So I figured they wouldn't run out of ammo, so better alternative, I guess, maybe. After rounding off the edges, I sent Tweaked for a little test drive to make sure it wouldn't fall apart in transit. Okay, things seem to be going fine. Everything is okay, turn around. Yep, I cannot build another space platform. Side note, this probably isn't related to what's actually happening, but in my notes where I record what's happening in every recording, I decided that it was important to the video that I let you know that after this first test flight, Tweaked was full of whimsy and joy, which honestly, I can't say I don't see it. After Tweak successfully got back in one piece, I added normal turrets as sort of a secondary measure to make sure it didn't have to make a second part to this video. And finally, after long last, I began crafting the final piece of the puzzle, the rocket silo. After shoving a billion blue circuits and rocket fuel into it, a rocket materialized into the silo and awaited its passenger. This was it, the moment we've been waiting for. I got into the rocket, and after a total of 10.5 hours, I escaped Vulcanus. As I fly home, I am reminded of Geeked. The idea that even in its final stand, it supplied my efforts to escape as if it were its own. I made it back to Novice, launched a pod to the surface, and after hours of work, breathed a well-deserved breath of fresh air. And then my iron farm almost blew up.